The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to finish out that email. I'm going to send it to each of you. And as you progress through the stages, refer to those images so that you will know which icons you should select.
For the longest time, we've been hearing people make allegations about the hiring practices in the air traffic control industry. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. There have been allegations that qualified white candidates are being overlooked in an attempt to hire more and more minorities. But just recently, an audio tape came out, which I believe is a very damning audio tape, which appears to bring some credibility to that claim. Let's check it out.
Washington Suburban Associate members, brothers and sisters, listen. It's been a really busy time for me these past 4 days. I know that each of you are eager, very eager, to apply for this job vacancy announcement. And trust, after tonight, you will be able to do so. I am asking that you give me another 15 or 16 hours. Allow me to go to work and come home, provide you with an email that will be extremely crucial in the opening stages of this hiring process. There are some valuable pieces of information that I have taken a screenshot of, and I'm going to send that to you via email. Trust and believe it will be something that you will appreciate to the utmost. Keep in mind, we are trying to maximize your opportunities, and I'm doing the very best that I can with the time that I'm given. Today, when I get off at 11 o'clock, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to finish out that email. I'm going to send it to each of you. And as you progress through the stages, refer to those images so that you will know which icons you should select. Now, I have a good mind to send it to one of my HR representatives first.
Now, he literally stated, now this individual is Shelton Snow. He is, according to this Daily Mail article that I'm going to get into a bit more after the recording is up, it says that he is a powerful figure in the National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees. And here it states that he could be heard promising advanced access to test answers. And the video's just getting rolling. So make sure you stick around so you can hear even more damning alleged statements made by this individual. Again, we live in a society where it's innocent until proven guilty. I'm not seeking to try this man in this video, but what we're hearing and what we're going to hear, it's not good for him. It doesn't sound good for him at all.
And give them the opportunity to sign off on it before you actually click it. But in the sake of time, I'm going to send it directly to you because I'm about 99.99% sure that it's exactly how you need to answer each question in order to get through the first phase.
If it comes to find out that this isn't him talking, whoever's talking and this isn't some AI created thing. I mean, because in this day and age, you just never know. Technology's gotten that advanced. But again, this is not sounding good. This clearly sounds like whoever's talking is about to send a document, certain candidates to help them in the process and giving them answers. Like I said, we're still working through this video, so just hang tight with me for a second. But I remember just a few weeks ago when Trump talked about DEI possibly having playing a role in that recent crash near DC or in DC, which killed over 60 people. When he talked about it, he received a lot of criticism. Those of us who are familiar know that this has been an issue going back years. There's videos, there are episodes of Tucker Carlson where he did segments discussing this issue, where white people who were largely overqualified in some instances for a particular job, or at the very least, they were qualified enough to at least be examined. They have lawsuits out there where they claim that they were overlooked primarily because they weren't the right color. And that's a problem because regardless of how you feel about DEI, I'm personally not a fan for various reasons. But one of the most crucial reasons is you could be overlooking somebody primarily because you want to have a minority fill a job position, but that minority might not be the most qualified person for the job. And when we're talking air traffic control, when we're talking about flying planes, or we're talking about helping landing planes, you're talking about a potential life or death career field, life or death job. And if you're underqualified, lives can be lost. And I don't think that's the place to be playing around. It's like in the medical field. Do you want somebody, necessarily want somebody who's a woman or in the LGBT community or black or Hispanic or whatever ethnic group or whatever marginalized group you want to name? Do you want that person cutting you open, going inside you, doing surgery, or would you rather have the most qualified person when your life might be on the line? And I think people play around with this garbage because they want people to feel good. And while doing that, they're putting other people at risk. I think it's utterly insane. It's utterly foolish. And you can be open the door to one, a ton of lawsuits, but even worse, somebody losing their life because you want to be diverse. Totally ridiculous.
People have been getting rejection notices, and those rejection notices have been coming after about 24 to 36 hours after clicking submit. And I want to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our time and we're going to make sure that everything that we click on, and you're going to even have to go back to your resume and make some changes because one of our members and I have caught something, and we want to go back and we want to fine tune those details. And I guarantee that will give us the very best feeling that we could ever get in applying for this job. VRAs, those that have received tentative offer letters, we want you to apply for this job anyway. Messages came back saying do not give the agency an opportunity to say they never gave you one. So apply for it anyway. For everyone else, stand by to stand by. Later on this evening, when I get home, I'm going to finish those emails. And then I'm going to go back to planning for the Black History Month program. And then I'm going to process all new members enrollment forms. And then I'm going to send out my emails to the managers of the FAA regional headquarters and thanking them for my visit. And then I'm going to get back to handling some important business for the VRAs. Um, I think we may have an opportunity, VRAs, to do something that others probably would find impossible. I found that answer talking to people in HR. So give me an opportunity to do what I need to do this evening, and I guarantee after that you will be able to apply for this job. Thanks a lot.
Unfortunately, in more recent years, we have a lot of people reacting emotionally when we hear different situations instead of taking the time and examining more and more detail. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel in the first place, because I honestly believe that there is a movement that wants to manipulate minorities, in particularly Black folks, to always assume the worst about another group of people. And, and sometimes, let's be honest, those claims can be true. But I think more often than not, these claims, these allegations, like all that we dealt with in more recent years when it came to defunding the police, the movement to abolish the police, has caused so many problems culturally, when we should be at a point in our lives, in the history of our nation, where there should be more ethnic unity because of the overwhelming success of various minorities. But somehow we've been manipulated in believing that we are actually in the worst times in our country's history when it comes to race relations. And I think that's utterly insane. So here at Corporate Conversations, I seek to be fair, I seek to be honest, I seek to assess every situation so that we can have a well-rounded understanding of what's really happening and not be manipulated by a media that has a political and social bias and has a motive behind what they do. Nowadays, the media isn't simply about sharing information. They share information, but they have an agenda behind it. So we try to weed out, push through all of that crap and get to the facts. And the facts is, unfortunately, when it comes to this whole DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion thing, it's not about giving minorities equal opportunities. It's about giving certain people, in many instances, who are underqualified or who aren't qualified at all, opportunities that they should not have, which can ultimately cause chaos and cause massive harm, not only within those groups, these minority groups, but on a tremendously larger scale, as I referenced earlier. But let's get into this article here. A top DEI activist is caught on voicemail allegedly offering minority air traffic control candidates the chance to cheat in a make or break entry exam. Shelton Snow, as I referenced before, a powerful figure in the National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees, can be heard promising advanced access to test answers in a shocking audio clip obtained by the Daily Mail. There are some valuable pieces of information, he's quoted as saying, of information that I've taken a screenshot of, and I'm going to send that to you via email, says Snow, an air traffic operations supervisor based out of New York. I am 99.999% sure that it is exactly how you need to answer each question. And I think that part right there was the most damning, honestly. He basically said that he's sure that this is how you should answer each question. I don't know how you can get out of that. But again, he hasn't been found guilty, and these are just allegations right now. But it ain't looking good for the man. The inside info was made available in 2014 to African Americans, females, and other minority candidates, but whites were left out of the loop to, quote, minimize competition. Exactly how many applicants were able to capitalize on Snow's brazen offer to secure coveted controller jobs responsible for the safety of millions of flyers remains a mystery. Now, that's the part that I mentioned is the most concerning. This isn't somebody doing janitorial work. These jobs can save lives or end lives if the person who's in charge doesn't know what they're doing. But one former NBC FA member, and this said a lot here when I read this earlier. Matthew Douglas told dailymail.com, quote, I know several people who cheated, and I know several people who are controlling planes as we speak. Wow. The voicemail comes to light as President Trump, and this is what I was talking about earlier as well, as President Trump vows to purge DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, from U.S. aviation, among other federal agencies, in the wake of the deadly midair collision at Reagan National Airport in January that claimed 67 lives. And then here we have an image of that whole Delta flight in Canada, where you had they bragged about their all-female staff, flight crew. And here's an image of Shelton Snow, the guy who's alleged to have made those statements. I'll read a little bit more. Snow's message was recorded just weeks after the FAA announced the biggest hiring shakeup in its history during the Obama-era push to widen the aperture for women and minorities. As DailyMail.com exclusively revealed, the federal government agency had controversially replaced its peer-reviewed cognitive exam with a biographical quiz, asking things like, how would you describe your ideal job? and classmates would remember me, and classmates would remember me as humble or dominant. Now, I'm not 100% sure what the peer-reviewed cognitive exam is, but maybe it has something to do with whether you had the mental faculties to do the job. And considering the weight of the career field, I don't think that's a bad thing to ask. Critics say the blend of multiple choice questions was designed to screen out elite, mostly white students from FAA accredited college courses who excelled in traditional aptitude tests. Nonetheless, it was proving incredibly tricky for anyone to pass with a 90% failure rate when Snow decided to intervene. The then president of the NBC FAE's Washington suburban chapter contacted members in January 2014 with a list of HR buzzwords, I guess human resources buzzwords, to insert in job applications. Quote, these buzzwords will flag your resume, thereby giving you the advantage over thousands of resumes that may flood the system, he wrote. So there's also written documentation. I believe that this is it here. You can pause it and read it or go back and reread it as you go. It demonstrates that he was, I guess, seeking to even the playing field for certain people, giving test scores, talking about using certain terms so that the people in human resources could see what was going on. So this shows that this was a wide scale attempt to cheat. That's how it's looking. Again, one of these many so-called right-wing conspiracy theories seems to be coming true. And I hope we're listening, y'all. I hope we're paying attention. Again, let's stop being taken for granted. Let's stop being manipulated by our emotions and start seeing through the lies and the tons of deception that's out there. Pay attention to what's going on. I'd love to know what you think about this right here. Are you a fan of this whole DEI thing, or are you a critic? I've made my case. I've shared my reasons why I'm very critical of it. I think it does more harm than good ultimately, but I'd love to know your thoughts. Comment down below. If you appreciate content like this, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. But before you go, as we're discussing this whole DEI situation, make sure you watch this video right here. We're going to go into it a bit more deeply. I think you'll appreciate it.